Howdy, and welcome to our talk show, Innovation Matters. My name is Karok Ray. I'm a professor here at Texas A&M and director and founder of the Mays Innovation Research Center. Just so you know, the Mays Innovation Research Center is an academic center at Texas A&M, and our mission is to understand innovation deeply and to promote that knowledge across campus and beyond. We fund research, we host conferences, and we have speakers coming in through campus all the time, in addition to this new YouTube talk show and podcast. So we're delighted to have John Claybrook here with us today, here in Aggie Land. We are going to talk about innovation and entrepreneurship in his career, primarily waste management and some of his new ventures. And we're going to have a pretty open conversation, and so let's just get started. John, welcome.
Thank you so much, Croak. I'm glad to be here.
Great. So John, tell me. You tell me a little bit. I just want to know your background. Where did you grow up? How did you arrive at Texas A&M? What made you choose the Mays Business School?
Yeah. Well, I grew up in Dallas. I graduated from Lake Highlands High School up in the Dallas area, and didn't really have any preferences on when I went on where I was going to go to college. Well, my junior year, a friend took me to a football game, and after that experience, I knew I didn't want to go anywhere else. It was the only place I wanted to go. I just got really welcomed in by current students at A&M who were real nice to me and asking me questions. I thought, boy, this is great. And so after that weekend, I knew this is the only place I wanted to go. It was the only place I applied. And fortunately, I got in because I was not one of those top 10% students. It wasn't guaranteed. But it was one of the best decisions I ever made. I had a really outstanding 4.5 years at A&M, and it changed my life in a lot of ways.
That's great. That's great. Tell me, what did you major in, and what was sort of the highlight of your on the academic side?
Well, I studied finance, and on the academic side, I like to tell people that I was in the top 10% of the bottom 10% of my class in the Mays Business School. I was not a good student, and really was a lot more interested in what was happening outside of the classroom, and that's where a lot of my education happened. I was a participant in the Titans program there at.
It was just still running.
Yeah. With Britt, and at the time, I don't know if they do this anymore. They send out everybody's resumes before the class starts, so you get familiar with everybody. And I was flipping through these, and it was like, 4.0 GPA, 3.85, 396, 4.0, 4.0, 4.0, and then it came to John. It was like 2.8, and. It was one of those situations where it's like, one of these things does not belong, and it is me. But I had a great experience, and it was the best class I ever took at A&M.
Is that right?
Oh yeah, it was unbelievable.
What was the best part of it?
It was. I liked that it wasn't particularly covering a specific financial topic. It was more about understanding the world and how the world works, and it gave me a broader perspective of business than I'd previously had. And Britt has that special effect on everybody that he touches, and just imparting wisdom on people. And so I felt like I walked away from the class as a wiser young man than I was before I started.
Yeah. That's great. So some of you may not know, this class that John is speaking about is called Titans of Investing, one of the most successful programs here at Texas A&M. It's run for several, I want to say decades by now. Britt Harris, who is the CEO of UTIMCO, which is the entity that manages all of the A&M and UT endowments, teaches this class here on campus and at UT. Britt was actually the co-organizer with me and Grant Weston of our Bitcoin conference last April.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah. So it was, he's got.
I heard that was a smashing hit.
Yeah. Thank you. Mostly because of Britt. I mean, he's got an impressive Rolodex, and so the smartest decision I made for that class was to host it on Britt's birthday, and so he just called all of his friends and said, "You got to show up for my birthday party," which is a Bitcoin conference. So Britt's a good friend, and he's obviously a huge asset of the university.
Absolutely.
So tell me what you did after leaving Mays. Did you dive into entrepreneurship right away?
Sort of.
You did?
Yeah. well, I went to go work for a gentleman who had a handful of businesses, and he needed some help running them. And so I went and helped in Austin for a year and a half, 2 years, and kind of moved around politics for a little bit after that. And then in 2017, decided to start a trash business.
Okay.
And so that's really when my experience in entrepreneurship started to take off really fast.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, you learn a lot quick whenever you start a business. And
so I have to ask, why trash? How did you get there?
it's a great question.
Yeah.
So probably like a lot of your listeners, there's folks that want to start a business someday, but they don't know what type of business it's going to be. And I was in a similar situation. I knew I wanted to be an entrepreneur. I did not know what type of business it was going to be in. And frankly, I didn't care. I just wanted to be an entrepreneur.
Right.
So I had this goal of wanting to help my parents retire by the time I turned 30. I set this goal when I was in college, and we grew up without a whole lot of money, and Mom and Dad weren't making a ton of money, and it occurred to me that life is expensive, and if Mom and Dad are ever going to retire, I probably need to do something about it. And so I set this goal. I want to help them by the time that I turn 30. Well, I was 26 and had about $100 in my bank account and didn't have any prospects of that changing anytime soon. And decided, well, I think it's time to start a business. If I want to reach this goal, I'm going to have to build something fast. And so that's when I first started thinking real seriously about getting something off the ground. Well, everything was an idea at that point, and I decided I needed to filter the ideas down. And so I set a few criteria. One, I wanted it to have decent margins. I was going to be real frustrated if for every dollar that was coming in, I was walking away with 5 cents. And so I wanted there to be decent margins. I wanted to be able to start this business with $100,000 or less. I'd never raised for a business before and didn't feel comfortable asking for more than $100,000. And the third thing was I needed the business to be simple enough for a dummy like me to figure out relatively quickly. And so I started looking at everything. I was living in an apartment at the time, and so I realized, okay, the parking lines are painted in our parking garage. Some company did that. So I'd start doing research about striping companies. There were rails in the halls and fences, and so I'd look into all these different things and mark something off the list or keep something on the list.
At this time, you were living in Austin, is that right?
Yes.
And were you employed at the time, or you had left your prior job?
I was in a transition period. Had finished a project and was kind of trying to decide what was next.
Okay, so this is you were putting full-time focus on this?
Yes.
Okay, great.
So anyways, we had this trash service at our apartment complex. Somebody came by our apartment unit 5 nights a week to take our trash from our doorstep to a trash compactor on the property. And I thought, boy, this is a great, interesting little service. And so I started doing some research on it. And I went out into our parking garage and spied on the person who was providing the service one night. I thought, boy, this is pretty simple. I think I could figure this out. Well, I started doing some napkin math and thought, yeah, I think this meets my criteria. And so I decided this is going to be the business that I start. And so that's what I did.
Wow. And so now tell me how I guess how did you do it? I mean I'm guessing you didn't know that much about the trash business. That was not a class you took at business school. So.
No, they didn't have trashology.
Right.
105 there at the business school. Well, the service itself is really simple. Okay, you provide trash cans for all the residents in an apartment complex, and you take their trash out for them. Really simple. All it really takes is some sweat. And enough money to buy some trash cans. And so to get it started, I raised $100,000. I was in one meeting and got a bank account set up and a company agreement, all that kind of stuff formed, and went and started knocking on leasing office doors. And got rejected every day for 3 months straight. Wow. Almost 90 days straight of getting told no by everybody. Right. It was very frustrating. And finally, 3 months in, got in touch with, I heard that a property was opening up. They're having an opening like ceremony or party, and that the owner of the property was going to be there, and that he was an Aggie.
Oh, great.
And so I just showed up to this party, and I introduced myself to this man. I said, my name's John, I'm an Aggie, and I'd like to be your garbage man. And he said, great, let's get you signed up. And that's how my first deal got signed.
Oh, wow. That's actually a great story. That's a great story of the Aggie Network.
Yeah, it is.
Wow.
And so after that, I went out and set out 250 trash cans. It was on July 5th, and we picked up starting at 8 p.m. Yeah. And so I getting my trash clothes on and was leaving our little itty bitty apartment we were living in. And my wife said, "Where are you going?" I said, "I'm going to pick up trash, sweetie. I think we've talked about this. This is a big night." Yeah. And she said, "Well, you're not going by yourself. I'm coming with you." Oh, wow. And so my wife came and picked up trash with me every night for 2 months.
Wow. It was just the two of you when you?
Just the two of us. And she was a great employee. Yeah. I only had to send her home one night for a bad attitude. And we had a great time. Some great memories were made, me and her just slinging trash together. And she earned a real appreciation for the type of work that we were doing.
I believe it. Yeah, I believe it. Wow. Now, so let me just sort of understand the economics. At the time there were other companies in this space.
Oh yeah.
Why did you believe that you could compete with those companies?
Well, so there were, and this is the setting for a lot of the blue collar business space. Yeah. There's one or two national players that have just a gigantic market share of the national market. There's, in this case with trash, there were about 15 mom and pop shops is what we consider them, just in one city. Got a handful of employees, and it's usually like a guy and his brother-in-law have managed to put together a pretty good little business. And then there's what we consider a handful of regional players that, in this case, maybe were in all the major markets in Texas and had established a pretty solid business. My theory was that you can build a really good business by being an outstanding regional service company. And that's what we tried to do. We tried to do the simple things really well, provide an excellent service, be extremely responsive, do right by the customer. And that's what we did. We ended up naming a few of those things. We called one of those things crazy customer service. And the idea was that if the customer thought that we were literally crazy by the lengths that we went to take care of them, then we'd done our job. One example, I ended up bringing on an operating partner named Brian Skolsky, and we had an apartment complex that we were starting, about 280 units. We delivered all of our trash cans, and it was a 6-story, it's called a mid-rise apartment complex. And delivering trash cans is no joke. It took like 10 man-hours to do. It was a long work day. And a resident came out and said, your trash can doesn't fit in my trash drawer. It's like, what are you talking about, a trash drawer? I never heard, nobody told us about a trash drawer. I was kind of thinking, well, you'll figure it out. And about 30 minutes later, some other resident said, well, your trash can doesn't fit my trash drawer. I was like, okay, well, this might be problematic. About an hour later, somebody came out, your trash can doesn't fit my trash drawer, and everybody's talking about it, and they're all mad. Oh, I see. What are you talking about? So, well, we got an app for everybody who lives here, and everybody's mad about it. I was like, oh man, this is gonna be a problem. Well, it turned out, we didn't know this, their trash drawers required a specific type of trash can. And the only place in the world that this trash can was manufactured was in Canada.
Okay.
And we needed to fix this problem fast.
Right.
So Brian, the next morning, rented a truck and did a 56-hour road trip to Canada and back to pick these trash cans up and get them to them as fast as we possibly could.
Wow.
And 2 or 3 days after that, everybody had the right trash can. And so that's what we were trying to do was, we couldn't wait 2 weeks for the trash cans to get there. We needed them immediately. And so Brian drove to Canada and back to pick these trash cans up for our customers.
Wow.
And safe to say, they thought we were crazy for doing that, and we had done our job.
Right.
And doing crazy customer service.
Wow. So it sounds similar to how Amazon's emphasis on customer service, right?
Yeah.
They're putting that first. So your company owns the trash cans? That's the inventory that you kind of own all the trash cans?
Yeah. We bought about 25,000 trash cans from Sterilite over the course of 3 years.
Right.
Yeah, we kept expecting to be added to the Sterilite Rewards program, or that maybe they'd fly us out to Hawaii or take us on some nice hunting trip.
Not yet.
No.
You got to get to 50,000.
Yeah, I hadn't gotten that call yet.
Yeah, right. And you also provide the manpower to move the trash cans. Is that right?
Yeah. So I mean, they're just kitchen-sized cans.
Okay.
And then by the end, we had about 100 employees out at night picking up trash on a part-time basis, 8 to 10 or 11, or some nights later than that.
And then, do you actually take the trash from the repository out to the landfill? Is that
no? We're just taking it to a trash compactor on the property.
Okay.
I mean, in most cases, we're just moving trash like 100 yards.
Okay, so a separate business, or is it the city that would take
and then like Waste Management or Republic would go haul the trash to the landfill.
I see. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow, I never knew this.
Yeah, it's kind of a funny little business.
Yeah. So just curious. So in my neighborhood, I live in College Station, like you. Is this? I think my trash truck is a city truck.
Yeah.
And the trash can is, because I just got a new trash can. I have 2 kids, and I told my kids, you guys are generating too much trash. I don't know why. It's probably my fault. I'm buying them too much stuff. But we now have 3 trash cans. Everyone else on our street has just 1 or 2. So I was like, how do I need a new trash can?
Yeah.
And I had to call the city, and I ended up paying $11 for my new trash can.
Okay.
So in that case, I'm guessing my services is fully public. It's provided by the city.
And some cities do that. And some other places have contracts that are signed with private companies to do the hauling. It just kind of varies.
Right. I actually would have preferred privatizing it. Actually, I always prefer that.
Yeah, privatize everything.
Yeah.
I think you and I are on the same page on that one.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So how many years did you run your business? Because you eventually sold it. Is that
correct?
Right?
Yeah. 3 years.
3 years. Okay.
Almost to the day.
Oh wow! And that was because you wanted for that personal goal of yours, or when you were
I mean,
because you were 20, that would be 29 when you.
Yeah, I was 29 when we sold it.
Yeah.
And it did work out in that way to accomplish that goal. It had really kind of gotten to a point where we were pretty dense in Austin, and not very dense in Dallas, Houston, San Antonio.
Right.
And College Station, for that matter.
Yeah.
And we either needed to double down and really build out formal offices in every major market in Texas, or sell it. The way we were doing it was not sustainable. We needed full staff in every city, which was going to require raising more money and maybe 3 or 4 more years of building.
Right.
We had basically accomplished what we were trying to accomplish. We were trying to get to 30,000 units, and we came up a little bit short on 30,000 units under management that we were serving. We ended up around 25. And so we felt like we'd basically accomplished our goal, and everybody's going to be real happy with the result between me and my partner and the investors in the business.
Yeah.
And so we ended up selling, and we sold to a company called Valley Living that was backed by at the time by Harvest and Aries.
Yeah.
And they were a great buyer, great to work with, and you know, I liked everybody that I interacted with at that company, and it was a good experience.
So those 3 years, I mean, I'm guessing that was a period of rapid growth for you in the company.
Yeah.
What, I guess qualitatively, what was that like? What were some of the biggest challenges? How did you overcome them?
Staffing was incredibly difficult, which is oftentimes the case with a lot of labor-intensive jobs, and then on top of that, what we were offering most people was a part-time job at night.
Yeah.
And our average employee worked 8 to 5 during the day and just wasn't making enough to make ends meet.
Sure.
And they needed to pick up another job.
Sure.
And we wanted their experience with us to be supportive, encouraging, where they felt like they had the support and resources to take care of their families.
Right. Right.
Anyways, hiring was challenging, being labor heavy and part time. Over the course of 3 years, we probably had to hire 700 people.
Wow.
And fully staffed there at the end, we were at 115.
Wow.
And so there's just a lot of turnover. People would get burned out working 2 jobs. The work was extremely difficult. I mean, we had a lot of people say that they've never done harder work in their entire life than moving trash at night. It was very, very challenging.
Wow.
And
it all had to happen at night, right?
Yeah.
Was that because of the labor force that was available at night, or is just
no? It's just the way that the service worked.
The service works,
You wanted to give the residents a chance to get home from work and put their trash out, and then we'd pick it up at night.
Did that mean that you were kind of always on? Kind of, you sort of had to be worked the full day, then also all the action is happening at night.
Yeah. It was exhausting.
Yeah, I bet. Sounds like it.
But we had to get really, really good at hiring people quickly and onboarding them quickly and training them quickly, just because of the turnover that was happening. And for context, we were paying people, in most cases, over $20 an hour to pick up trash.
Wow. Is that above market, or is that?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, wow.
Oh, yeah.
And you still couldn't hire everyone you needed.
No.
Wow.
And when COVID hit, and you know, people were getting laid off.
Yeah.
And we had a ton of job applications. We got like 100 job applications in a month. This was like March 15th to April 15th of 2020. And then a lot of like the unemployment benefits started hitting.
Yeah.
And we got 5 job applications the next month after all of that stuff started coming in place. So it made it extremely, extremely challenging to stay staffed. And I mean, you see that a lot of businesses are still having problems trying to hire enough people to stay operational.
Right.
And that was hard to see that firsthand.
You know, just a little side digression. When I think about these issues, I'm a labor economist by training.
Yeah.
You know, our innovation center, we do a lot on robotics. I actually am the advisor for Aggie Robotics.
Oh yeah.
I'm just curious if there's a robot that could help here. You know.
If there is, it would take somebody with your size brain to figure it out, and not mine. Yeah, I'm sure there is.
Yeah.
We thought about that. I mean, there's a lot of interesting variables, right?
Yeah.
Like, if everybody followed the rules correctly, maybe it would work. Put the trash, tie it in the trash can at the correct time.
Yeah.
But then you get all these other variables, like somebody breaks down a box and puts it behind their trash can, or sets a watermelon on the side of the trash can.
Right.
You know, there are a lot of variables that you run into. Stairs being a big one.
Yeah, that's right.
You got a robot that can climb stairs?
Well, there are those robots, but I don't think they could also carry a trash can. that's the problem.
Well, we got some work to do, don't we?
Yeah. You know, it's interesting. It's kind of like, I mean, it's funny. It seems like in robotics, there are some areas of AI that the more open it gets harder, obviously.
Really?
And it's almost, as simple as it sounds, trash is probably too hard right now for where AI is, artificial intelligence is right now for this. But, you know, we'll see.
Well, things are moving quick, and innovating quick, and we may be having a different conversation in 5 years.
Yeah, exactly right. Okay, so then let me. So now let's keep going. So you sold the company.
Yeah.
And what'd you do after that? What was that? What was next for you?
I napped every afternoon for like 9 months.
Yeah, I don't blame you.
Yeah.
Right.
We since 2017 we've had 3 children. We've got a boy that.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That just turned 3. We've got a girl that's 1.5, and we've got another girl that's 4 months.
Oh wow.
And
yeah.
at the time, this was August 2020.
Yeah.
Our daughter had not been sleeping really very well at night, so we'd been up multiple times during the night. Moved to College Station. Finally had her own room. She'd been sleeping in our bedroom because our old house we only had 2 bedrooms.
Right.
Our son was sleeping in one.
Right.
She slept in her own room and slept through the night. And we were like, okay, we can finally catch up on rest. And so we rested and napped almost every afternoon. And needed to do that because I think I was, and probably my wife too, were just physically unhealthy.
I bet.
We're just tired.
Yeah. You were up late every night, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
With work and then with the baby.
Yeah.
And so we rested and launched. Then launched Bronco Ventures. Me and 2 partners, Brian Skolsky from VWS, my partner in the trash business, and one other guy named Jordan Needham, who's a dear friend of ours, and we call him the brain of our group. He's the brain that we needed and we're lacking. Yeah. And so we set out to buy some blue collar businesses, and it took a year before we bought our first business. And I mean, we were searching fairly earnestly.
Yeah.
And for whatever reason, couldn't find deals at the right price or with the right characteristics. The right location. Well, we finally found our first business about a year in. It was a pest control business called Intech Pest Management that we bought. It's in Bryan and Brenham. Great business, great reputation in the pest control industry, and I'm actually running that right now.
Oh, you are? Okay.
We bought the first one with our own money, just to test if we were able to identify a good business, conduct diligence, close on it, and effectively conduct a ownership transition. We didn't want to put anybody else's money at stake since we'd never done it before.
Right.
And so we bought it ourselves, and it's gone quite well. Today, actually, we are set to close on a septic business in South Central Texas. It'll be our second business to buy entirely, and we're excited about this one. It's a bit larger than the first one that we bought, and it was the first business that we raised money for. That went quite well. Yeah. And so we're hunting for other great businesses that are looking to sell for any variety of reasons, and hope to do an excellent job of continuing people's legacy and taking care of their employees and making it an even better place to work for them, and an even better place to be served by for the customers.
Great. And are you planning on also running that business?
No, I'm not going to be running that one.
No, okay.
My partner Brian is going to be running that, actually. Okay. We wanted to, I mean, this is just our second deal to do. Right. Felt good having a partner running this one, and he's going to do a tremendous job. He's just got energy for days and thoughtfulness. And
that's great.
With it being the first one that we raised money for, we want to make sure we get this one right too.
Right. And the business you're running now, you're running it full time?
I mean, between Intech and Bronco and personal investments, that's kind of takes up my work day right now. Right.
And so I'm curious, why did you decide to move back to College Station? Tell me about that.
Well, my wife and I, Kelly, we always wanted to raise our kids on some land. And we looked everywhere in between Fredericksburg, all the way over to Tyler, north to Waco, south to San Marcos, and we found some stuff that we really liked. but the prospect of being close to families like ours with young kids was fairly unlikely.
Right, right.
We found some land here that we liked a lot and felt that there's a pretty good chance that there'd be some other young families, at least relatively close by.
Yeah.
And we loved College Station.
Yeah.
And so we moved back here, and it's a wonderful place to raise kids.
Yep.
A lot of great churches here.
Yep, yep.
And we've thoroughly enjoyed it so far. It's been a very different pace from what we knew in Austin.
Right.
Where there was always something to go to 5-7 days a week.
Yeah, that's right.
And now, if we're going to a dinner once or twice a week, it's a big week for us. I mean, we're
Right.
pretty busy.
Yeah.
It's a nice change of pace.
Yeah. That's great to hear. Actually, I've moved here 5 years ago, and I'm trying to get as many people here as possible.
Are you recruiting too?
I am. Especially for the alums.
Yeah.
Getting the alums here, I think College Station will then really hit escape velocity because we're obviously we're huge for the students, and the alums do come back for football, but we want to build that community. So I mean, just curious on that topic, what do you think? So those are all the benefits. What else could we do to attract more alums to come back to the area? Do you think?
I mean, I think. How long do you have? So here's a couple of thoughts. I think we need more unique dining experiences.
Yeah.
There's really just a handful of restaurants that we love to go to.
Right.
At College Station. I mean, nobody goes on a vacation and says, "Oh, we just had the best dinner at Ruby Tuesdays." You want a unique experience, right?
Yeah.
And I would love to see some new restaurant concepts pop up.
Sure.
I think that'd do a lot for the city. I think it'd be great if more young professionals moved back here and started businesses.
Yeah, that's right.
There really is a very healthy business community.
Yep.
In Bryan College Station,
Yeah.
over to Brenham and the surrounding counties
That's right.
and cities.
That's right.
And so I think there's a lot of potential for new businesses to pop up here.
Yeah.
And I'd love it. I mean, I know the city of Bryan was doing a lot to attract businesses into the area.
Right.
I think College Station would be well served to do something similar.
Yeah.
So I think between some unique dining experiences and some new, innovative, entrepreneurial people moving back to the city and starting things, I think we could see even more rapid growth than the area is already seeing.
That's right. That's great. Yeah, and I'm a big optimist on A&M and College Station. So I think, especially on the innovation side, there's a lot happening. It's a big institution, so it takes time for to move the Titanic.
Right.
But I think we're playing the long game, and Texas is booming overall. A&M is growing like crazy.
What's your answer? What do you think it's going to take?
It's funny about the food question. I get that. It's funny. People always mention that. And,
really?
And it's maybe I don't have my well-defined taste buds. I'm a professor and I've eaten college food my whole life, so it's been fine to me. I think the community is the challenge. Is getting, when I talk to students, right? And I talk to students who the first year out they all want to leave College Station, and I get that, right? And sometimes they get the decision point is exactly when they start to have kids. That's when there's an opportunity to get them back, because it's going to be hard to compete with Austin and Dallas for a single 23-year-old or 24-year-old.
That's a hard place to be a young professional. Like a very young professional.
Yeah, exactly right. Then at that point, I think we just need to get enough alums like you and to build a little bit of a community, and I think that community can really provide something that you can't get in the big cities.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah,
there's something special about being in a smaller place. I mean, Dallas, Austin, Houston, to me just felt so gigantic. It was hard to figure out how things worked and what the structure was and what the organizations were to plug into and who the centers of influence were. Right. Here, it's just much easier to figure out, and you can feel like you're getting plugged in, making a difference, serving in the right places.
That's right.
And we just enjoy that so much.
Yeah. So I want to just kind of drill down a little bit on your education at A&M.
Yeah.
What parts of it do you feel were the most useful for your career as an entrepreneur, and what could have been better?
We're talking kind of the 4.5 years as a whole, or are you talking about in the classroom?
I would say both. If you could answer it both ways. Yeah.
So I had a great experience outside the classroom. Just getting to start organizations, getting to serve in organizations, getting to lead organizations. That's where I developed the most. I got to be president of the student body in 2012 and 2013,
right.
and through that got to start a couple of things. There's something here on campus called the 12th Can. It's a food pantry on campus, and we got to start that. And it was cool to see a need. I'd heard that there were A&M students who were living under bridges, showering at the rec center, and skipping meals because they didn't have enough money to have a place to live or to eat food. And that was shocking to me. I thought it was unacceptable. I thought that the least we can do is at least give these people something to eat. And so we started this food pantry. And it was awesome. The Student Athlete Advisory Committee, which was led at the time by a gal named Janelle Lysack, who tragically passed away recently, was a classmate of mine and somebody who had a great impact on my life. She was like, we're all in, we want to help. And so at one football game, they raised money for us, and they raised like $50,000 for this food pantry to get off the ground. And that was Janelle, who took the lead on that and got people bought in and made it happen. All that to say, I learned at A&M that I liked starting things, and that I could do that. I was gifted in that area, and I think that propelled me to dream and think, yes, one day I can start a business, and I think I can be successful because I've done this before. I've had some practice. And so that was the greatest impact that was made on me through my experience at A&M. Inside the classroom, I probably could have chosen my classes better. I wish I would have had some type of class on entrepreneurship. And I mean, there were organizations for that. I wasn't aware of classes at the time that were doing work on that. I studied finance. I was never going to go work for JP Morgan or Goldman Sachs. One, because it didn't interest me, and two, because I don't think they would have ever let me step foot in one of their offices with my GPA and really understanding of
Was that the culture at Mays back then, that was the goal that every student was sort of aspiring to?
I mean, people wanted to be investment bankers or consultants. And that's what all the top students want to do. And I think it's probably still the same way. Are you seeing something different?
Well, it's a deep. I'm totally frank with you, and I'm tenured, so I can be. This is ultimately the deepest irony at A&M, which is at Mays actually, because Mays it's still even now, to me it seems a little strange, but it still seems like primarily the students are aiming for, I would almost say, yesterday's industries. I mean, they're aiming for Wall Street in the 80s. Investment banking and consulting and accounting, like the big four, are still they draw the most of the students. And I think for me, what's puzzling about that is that if you think about Lowry Mays and who he was a petroleum engineer who randomly essentially bought a radio station. And he stumbled into this, and he decided, no one knows about this. I'm going to try to understand this better than anyone else. And he took this enormous risk and was fabulously successful, right? And that is really part of the ethos of the Mays Business School. But we need to do a better job communicating that to the students, that this is our legacy and this is kind of our aspiration. So which is why I think it's very, I mean, You'll notice, I mean, we have a lot of entrepreneurship innovation activities on campus now, and we're all on the same team. We want to emphasize the importance of building things from scratch and innovating and trying things differently. I
think it's a tremendous point. And, I've given talks to students before, and I kind of, rib them a little bit about, don't go be a consultant. because that's what all my friends went to do. They went to go be consultants.
Right.
And I've always thought that. Have you lived in a big city before?
I have, yeah.
Which city?
Chicago and Washington, D.C.
Okay.
Yeah.
So if you live on the outskirts of either of those cities,
Yeah.
and you're trying to drive into downtown at 7, 8 in the morning,
Yeah.
what are you going to do? You're going to run into a ton of traffic.
Right. That's right.
I've always thought, like, I want to go the opposite direction of wherever the traffic is going.
Yeah.
There's less competition. It's going to be easier to get there.
That's right.
And I think so many of these students are going to be consultants or investment bankers, and there's a ton of competition, which is great. They are able to succeed and compete and do well in that environment, and that's good for their character.
Right.
But I think there's just the most successful people I've ever met in my life all thought about the world differently, and they did different things, and they took risks. And it wasn't just doing things differently, they were also very secure in who they were and their character and how they were going to treat people and their work ethic.
Right.
And so I always want to encourage people to think differently.
Yeah.
Don't be scared to do different things. Don't be scared to take risks.
Right.
Especially when you're young. I mean, there's not a better time to do something different.
Yeah.
I encourage people to think about their careers as a story. Every little line on a resume has a story. Right. And every little experience is not just an experience, it's something that you can share with people. It's a story. Yeah. And instead of going to intern for XYZ consulting company or XYZ bank, do something crazy. Yeah. Go work on a fishing boat in Alaska. Go work for a really small startup that is trying to change the world. Right. That's going to make for a far more interesting story and a lot more interesting experience that'll serve you well for many more years. Yeah. So anyways, I go overboard on my encouraging young people
that
to
is
do
so
something
necessary
different.
for the students to hear that. I will, I'll get to, if I can, I mean, obviously I've been dealing with students here for a long time. If I can channel a lot of their fears that they don't always voice, is that there's, at A&M there's, and I'd like you to respond to this because if you can. A lot of our students, they grow up aiming for coming to A&M. That's their opportunity at the big time. And when they get here, what the university does is it sets up for them kind of almost like a yellow brick road to get into like PwC or to Halliburton, into corporate America. And it's very easy for them to just take that path. And there aren't enough. Some of them have a lot of great ideas, but they're scared to take that risk, to try something new, when everyone around them is largely moving down this yellow brick road. Yeah. What can you say to those students? How could you? What else could you? For given that the programming is roughly consistent for kind of taking the straight and narrow.
Well, I think you're exactly right. I think there's another piece to it. When you're in college, and I was guilty of this, you don't know anything about anything. Yeah. You don't know how the world works. Yeah. If you asked me in college what I wanted to be when I grew up, I would have said I want to be a consultant. Yeah. And I actually applied to be a consultant at Deloitte. When I was president of student body, and I tried hard. Like I went to the events and everything and introduced myself to the recruiting coordinators. And I remember one day I took a test at Mays, bombed it, was walking back to Lot 100, got an email from Deloitte, said, thanks for applying. You have not been given an interview. Right. I thought, you've got to be kidding me. Right. I really tried at this. I thought, I'd be a great consultant for Deloitte. And they didn't even interview me. Yeah. And thank goodness they didn't. Yeah. Because at that point in time, I was like, I'm just going to do something totally different. I don't want to play this game. I want to try and do something different. Right. So anyways, what people know is you're supposed to be a banker, you're supposed to be a consultant, you're supposed to go work for a Big Four accounting firm. Yeah. My wife mentors a junior in college at A&M, and she's talking about internships right now. Yeah. And I was like, what are you going to intern? what kind of internship do you think you're going to do? She said, probably consulting.
Yeah.
I was like, why? She's like, oh, it's just kind of what you're supposed to do.
Right.
And college students just don't, more often than not, do not know about the really cool, innovative companies that are doing amazing things.
Yeah.
So I think they'd be well served by hearing about Icon, who,
Right.
Jason Ballard, who you had in here a few weeks ago.
Right.
3D printing houses on the moon.
Yeah.
They need to hear about these companies that are doing awesome things.
That's right.
And there's just not a good, I don't think there's a real good collection of companies that are innovating and doing cool stuff for them to learn about.
Right. So we're trying to fix that. Well, at least I'm trying to fix that as
Yeah.
much as I can. But we want to eventually start a bus trip to the different cities and connect with Aggies who are running companies like Icon, just to get that exposure. Because you're right, a lot of the kids just don't know.
Yeah.
And that'll be the first step. And then hearing from people like you, I think this message is so important. It's honestly, it's probably the most important thing that universities could do, and we don't do it enough.
Yeah.
It's I've been a professor my whole life, and I feel like of everything we do at universities, all the research, all the teaching, just getting kids to expand their horizons. We don't put any real formal emphasis on it, and we need to.
Yeah. Well, I think you're doing the Lord's work.
Yeah.
That's good stuff.
Yeah. Thank you. So what's next for you? Do you see yourself? Is College Station kind of the end game? Do you think, or?
I mean, we're very happy here and don't have any intent to move.
Yeah.
We love where we're living. We love the people that we become friends with. We love our kids' friends. It's kind of crazy that they're starting to make friends.
Yeah, that's right.
And so we're very happy here. I think from a business perspective, it's a place I love to work.
Right.
With good people.
Right.
And so, I don't have any plan to leave.
Great.
I wish the summers were a little less hot.
Right.
But all in all, we live a very, very blessed and simple life, and wouldn't change anything.
What from your perspective, what are some thoughts you'd have on how the university could engage with alumni like yourself more, or offer ways to mentor students? I don't know if you do any mentorship of students.
Some,
yeah.
Not formally, just very informally.
Yeah.
I think the association and Porter and Nick and all them do a great job of engaging former students, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I think Tyson's doing a great job at the A&M Foundation and engaging alumni. There's a gazillion different student organizations that have alumni groups.
Yeah.
There's a real shift that happened, I think, over the years. Years ago, people identified with their class.
Right.
And so class reunions were a very big thing.
Right.
Now, I think people more associate with the organizations that they were a part of at A&M, because that's where they made their closest friends.
Yeah.
And so now I think organizational alumni groups are more vital.
Yeah.
And it becomes more difficult to structurally set up systems where alumni can engage with current students when the organizations are so dispersed.
Right.
How many student organizations are there on campus right now?
At least 2,000. Yeah.
There's a ton.
Yeah.
And it's really hard to kind of take a top-down approach of this is how you are going to engage with as alumni with current students.
Right.
And so it's challenging. I think it's happening in not a very trackable way.
Yeah.
Like I was a part of this group called Aggie Men's Club.
Yeah.
And we had an alumni weekend last fall. Ton of alumni came, ton of students there, had a great time, relationships were formed, people have stayed in touch.
Yeah.
But it's not something that the university knows is happening.
Right.
But it's happening.
Right.
And I've seen Mays.
And that's probably one of the most effective organizations out there, right?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
I've seen Mays do, they've sent out surveys about, do you want to mentor a current student? And so I think stuff's happening.
Yeah.
I think what you're doing is great. Just, bringing on people to hear about their life, and I hope that students reach out to the people that you have on the show to ask questions and to engage.
Yeah.
I spoke to a class earlier this semester and I said, nope, whenever I speak to groups, I always give my email and nobody ever emails. And this class is Dr. Welch's class.
Yeah.
Had like 5 or 6 people email, just
okay.
wanting to stay in touch and wanting to ask a few questions. And so I think alumni want to engage, they want to help, they want to teach. And I want to encourage your listeners, to the extent that they're students, to take alumni up on that. Reach out to them, engage, ask questions. We love that stuff.
The Aggie Network is the most valuable asset we have.
Oh yeah, there's no doubt.
Great. Yeah. So we are just about out of time. I wanted to thank you, John, for taking the time.
Thank you for having me.
And really thank you for coming back to College Station. I hope that we can find ways to integrate you with all of what we're doing here, both at the university and at the Mays Innovation Research Center, over the long haul. I think we see a lot of the same issues that we need to address with students.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed hearing about everything you've accomplished so far and about your life ahead.
Well, thanks so much for having me on. It was a big time, and if we got any future garbage men or women listening to this, you reach out to me. I can talk all day about it.
Yeah, great.
Thanks, Crow.
Okay, thank you, John.